Pluto shifting into Aquarius right this very moment. And while there's a lot of things we can talk about and explore, and I really want to focus on both the personal, individual, as well as some collective manifestations of this coming energy, truly what we're really entering into is a whole new vibrational field of reality, which only in hindsight and 20 years' time we'll be able to look back into and truly understand from this more elevated experience of having lived through the energy and experience. Actually, still on a personal level, Aquarius is all about unconditioned consciousness, the true liberated awareness of our inherent nature, which is free from any and all constraints. So Pluto in Aquarius on a deep personal level is so much about a true reclamation of our authentic self, and where and how we have felt powerless in our unconscious giving away of our own inherent heart and soul to these deep patterns and ingrained conditionings of society, of societal expectations of how we conduct ourselves in all kinds of social systems and social interactions and relationships, where Pluto in Aquarius will be so much about a true liberation of the truly authentic, real human being that is the true source and soul of your personality, of who you think you are, right? This very human body and being. Along with that, though, is Aquarius' other manifestation as trauma. Trauma and dissociation. We are dissociated from our authentic, true, liberated self, and in that way not able to truly live that out. Yes, there might be deep ingrained or unconscious patterns of societal expectations or conditionings, judgment, shame, guilt, how we project meaning into the world, which are maybe inhibiting us. But at the root cause of all of them are patterns and parts of our psyche that have been dissociated from who we authentically feel ourselves to be. This dissociation happens in almost all cases through one form or another of trauma, where and how we have felt so split from being able to integrate the wholeness and trueness, uniqueness of our being into the present moment, that we had to split off, cut off, dissociate us or part of ourselves from ourselves in order to survive in that moment. So Pluto in Aquarius will also reactivate a lot of unconscious trauma in humanity collectively, but also personally, which it already did since last March when it first entered Aquarius. But only by the reckoning with that, and that doesn't have to be a conscious process per se, where we truly understand and grasp and analyze and go through all these layers of like, oh yeah, this thing happened and then that thing happened. It doesn't have to be that way, right? It's just an energetic recalibration of allowing these dissociated parts of ourselves to truly come back to us. And then it's not about the perceived projection of having to liberate ourselves from all kinds of outer constraints or outer worldly structures that bind us, but ultimately it's the inner structures that truly keep us imprisoned and not being able to be authentically free in our own inherent unique nature and humanness. Translating that to the collective level, and we already see quite a lot of manifestations of Pluto in Aquarius even just today, right? There's like a big process in Hong Kong on like people that have been trying to install more democratic process. There's all the humdrums of saber rattling, of speaking of nuclear power and the fear of technology, right? And both of these are, of course, very much connected to Pluto in Aquarius. The last time Pluto was in Aquarius in the end of the 18th century was also when we had the French Revolution, which spouted the Aquarian keywords of liberty, brotherhood, and égalité. Liberté, fraternité, égalité. So equalness. Equalness is both the light and the shadow of Aquarius. Equalness as in I am perfectly, uniquely special in the way that I am, and so are you, and so are you, and so is she, and so is him, and so is everybody. And on that level, we're all equal. That's a beautiful manifestation that Aquarius truly wants us to step into. On the lower end, though, we can see the rational, cold, very intellectual, but emotionally distant, dissociated, cold energy of equalizing people, trying to make everybody the same and not being able or allowed to step out. The peer pressure is a true Aquarian thing also, but also the elitism of people that think that they are so beyond or above in their small little group, the rest of common humanity, that they can equalize and then again make everybody else different, and where you have to distance yourself or even dissociate yourself from. Right? The use of technology, of course, AI and spaceships and aliens and all the forms of technology, new ways of harvesting or creating or conducting channels, creating channels to bring energy into our physical world, will all be huge things. We can't even imagine the technological progress that will happen and unfold over the coming 20 years. If you think the last 20 or 30 years would have been fast, but hold on tight, put in your seatbelt. But the underlying intention ultimately is one of creating a greater connective whole, a greater connective universe for us here on planet Earth. Where also the last time Pluto was in Aquarius was also the true birth of corporations in the US, where people could buy shares from, right? Shares of power. Power is a Pluto thing. And the corporations and communities and groups that would start to trade all over the globe. A very Aquarian thing. Helping us to connect, helping us to decentralize and connect like-minded people, like-minded souls on an equal level and equal footing. So this is what the global collective impulse will be so much about, to find peace and greater push for the democratic process or the democratic dream, which has been so undermined the last decades, right? From the plutocracy and oligarchy of the super wealthy and super rich. So the huge discrepancy in wealth in the world is also a very Aquarian thing right now, right? Which of course also the French Revolution was there to counteract that and resolve that kind of energy, which did happen there, and which on some level is even greater today than it ever was with the French aristocracy. So that's very interesting. Don't get too hung up on all the technological focus, but really see that also over the coming months, where we have Mars retrograde. Mars will go retrograde pretty soon, early December in early Leo, and that way still make two perfect oppositions to Pluto and Aquarius. Mars and Leo is all about the courage to truly follow our heart. The Leo Aquarius polarity is all about individuation and being true to ourselves, right? So there's a lot of confrontation with unconscious shadow material, where we have not allowed ourselves to truly feel what it means to truly feel like ourselves. And the Mars and Leo opposite Pluto transit over the coming months will bring up a lot of unprocessed feelings and all of that regard in a very intense way at times, of anger or aggression or intensity, wanting to break and burst through, right? Burst through new dimensions is a very Aquarian thing also, and where maybe the parts of ourselves, especially relating to our heart and how we truly feel from the inside, have been stepped down or dissociated, will maybe come out with quite some force, not just in the person but also collective level, right? A reckoning with the power that we can truly wield when we are true to ourselves. This is also what the coming months will be about. Still, the energy will take some time to settle into, but it is a whole new era. It's a whole new chapter of humanity. And especially once Neptune and Saturn enter Aries over the next 1.5 years, they have their first brief entry next April, but then will only truly enter into Aries by 2026. That's truly when these epochal energetic shifts that Pluto in Aquarius is also talking about will truly become manifest much more. Lastly, if you're a Capricorn or all the other signs, Cancer, Libra, Aries, the cardinal signs, the solstice and equinox signs, yeah, you can say it in one level of astrology. Oh, sure, all the Capricorns are now like out of that water, and Aquarius will feel it. It's a bit too simplistic. If you got planets at the very tail end of Capricorn or Cancer, or maybe also Libra and Aries, you would have felt Pluto there much stronger. If you're Capricorn but you're just born on Christmas, so at the very beginning of Capricorn season, and you've got no other planet at the end of Capricorn, Pluto will have not been touching your sun since more than a decade. So don't give too much into like, oh, this is such a huge day for the Capricorns. This is too simplistic and shallow astrology. Don't buy into that. But still know that this shift is monumental, right? You can have the one without the other. And that's also what Aquarius will ask us, to come to peace with paradox and a greater ability to truly mentally analyze things from an elevated perspective without falling into the simplistic black and white thinking, right? Which is more like the Gemini function. Anyhow, thank you for listening. That was longer than I thought, and I hope you've got a beautiful beginning of Pluto in Aquarius. Bye bye.